Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. During this time of staying at home over the past couple of months, have you made time to relax or to enjoy your hobbies? For me, relaxing means reading, walking, staying in touch with my family and friends, and also making things with my hands. Ever since I was little, I've tried different arts and crafts, but I think my favorite is pyrography or wood burning. And I've been doing wood burning for about 15 years now, and it still excites me, and I still learn new things from it. So pyrography or wood burning, so the word pyrography comes from two Greek words, pyr, which means fire, and graphos, which means to write. Although most people don't use a flame to either burn or etch the paper and wood that they burn on, most of the time people use a tool similar to a soldering iron to etch images or words into burnable materials such as wood, paper, leather, and cork, anything that is non-toxic. For me, I prefer burning in poplar wood or basswood because they're softer woods and they don't have much grain structure, which makes them easier to burn on. And then they also have a nice warm sepia tone to them. Some people prefer monochrome wood burning or pyrography. I like to do a combination. So some of my pieces will have just the wood and the kind of the brown etching left in them. Other pieces I'll add a little bit of color using acrylic paints depending on what the project is. I would say my favorite themes are probably flowers and birds and more natural themes. Versatility is one reason why I really enjoy pyrography. You can do it on 3D objects as well as just two-dimensional pieces of wood and paper. And I've done wood burnings on both 2D planks of wood, wooden eggs, matryoshka, which are nesting dolls, and even wood that I've carved by hand. And I think people can really bring a lot of personality to their wood burning project, similar to any other kind of art form. What I also like is that unlike pen and paper well, I guess some painting does have texture, but with the wood burning tool, you can form a texture on the wood surface. And I think I also like that sensory nature of pyrography as well. So you can hear the tip as it's burning the wood and cutting through the grains. You can also smell it sometimes. But I will emphasize that for me, there's no flames involved. It's just the hot tool in the wood. I also like the fact that it takes me many steps in order to make a finished piece. So from picking out a pattern to drawing a pattern sometimes, to picking the wood, preparing the surface, so sanding the wood to make it smooth so that I can transfer the pattern, burning the wood, and then finishing it either by adding paint or by adding oil to the surface. So the burning step is really only one part of this process. And I think pyrography is a good hobby for me because it is challenging. So I had to learn how to hold the tool so that I can make a consistent line on the wood, as well as vary the line width for some variety in the picture that I draw. I've learned to work with the grain in the wood. So softer parts of wood burn faster than the harder parts of wood. And often as you're going over a grain, you have to adjust the pen speed so that you have a consistent line throughout the piece. The other strategy is you can work the grain into the picture itself. So sometimes grain can become water, or it can also become clouds in a background. It's inexpensive and then also portable. So I've been able to do wood burning both at home and in my apartment. And the materials are relatively inexpensive as well. About the only requirements are having a stable surface that are far away from probably curtains and anything else that's flammable nearby. And then also making sure that you have adequate ventilation. So working in a room, preferably with a window. And also, like any arts and crafts, there's no pressure to produce something in the end, or it doesn't have to look a particular way. And there's no deadline. So while pyrography doesn't directly affect my work performance evaluation, I think it really helps in my work because it gives me that chance to relax and to work on things where there is no pressure. And it's also a great stress relief, and it requires some concentration so that I don't end up either burning myself or ruining my piece of wood. There's no erasing anything in wood burning. I continue to challenge myself by looking for new types of patterns and styles to try out, and then also maybe trying new types of color to add to the wood. And then I've also experimented with adding gold leaf to the surface. And while I don't recommend that everybody try wood burning, I do recommend maybe thinking about your hobbies or thinking about ways that you relax as well. So either learning a new skill or thinking about your hobbies and other things that you can do with them. Are there possibly genres of books and movies that you haven't tried out or places that you haven't yet walked? And I think hobbies are probably important. Like I said, it's very good stress relief, and especially in the staying at home times and the stressful times during the pandemic that we have now. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests. And thank you, Nikki, for a great speech on your favorite hobby. I thought it was very educational and interesting. I had never heard of pyrography, but when you started describing it, I know what pyrography is. I've seen it, but I didn't know the word for it. I like that you defined it and explained what it was. And then my first question was, why is this your favorite hobby? And then that's what your speech was. You explained all the reasons why it's such a great hobby. It's versatile. You can showcase your personality. The sensory aspect I found really intriguing. That it's challenging. I think this is, especially as you said, in a time where we're all at home, such a great thing to have something that you can, you know, turn off work and do something completely different with your brain. So the one suggestion I was going to make was that I think, you were describing all the different types of material you can use and all the different projects you've done in the past, and I really thought a visual accompaniment to that would have been great, but everybody already said that in the comments. So I had to think of something else. And the other glaring question I had was, we got a great sense of why you love the hobby, and I think you give it a lot of great reasons for why you love it. I was just curious why you got into it. How did you discover it? It's not something I wouldn't. I'm just maybe not familiar with it. It's not something I typically hear people do. So I think that would have been interesting how you stumbled on it and how you got interested in it. But other than that, I thought you clearly came across as an expert, and I think that's the reason we all want to see your work sometimes. So this is the first time you've given the speech? Is that correct? Yeah. So next time you give the speech, maybe just to pacify everybody, you could show us one piece. But no, I don't think that's a big deal. I think you did a great job actually visually. You used words really well to visually describe the art that you're creating. So I thought, while it would have been nice, like I could actually see what you're talking about. In a sense, that's actually maybe nice because you can sort of imagine what you could do yourself if you were doing pyrography. So overall, I think that was a great speech, and look forward to hearing the second version if you decide to give it again.